Welcome to BARI Banter, where we talk everything bariatric surgery with the people that know it best, the patients. I'm Shannon, and I'm here with my co-hostess with the mostest,
Lita. So sit back, relax, and remember, sip, sip, sip.
Welcome back to episode 84, young leader. Question that we ask guests each week that I kind of thought I'd ask you this week is, what is it apart from bariatric surgery that is allowing you to not gain weight after bariatric surgery?
I would say it is my exercise.
How's your nutrition?
It comes in ebbs and flows. And I think that we asked the question last week, I think it was, on our socials. What do you prioritize, your nutrition or your exercise? And a lot of people say that they prioritize exercise and they know that they need to put more emphasis on nutrition. And for me personally, it comes in sort of like waves, because I'll get like super motivated and I'll like meal prep and I'll be really, really good for like 2 weeks. And then all of a sudden I just sort of lose interest and I just go back to eating like quick and easy. Like, they're not unhealthy.
Quick and easy?
Yeah. Well, yeah, quick and easy meals.
Oh yeah, not like light and easy.
No. Like I start just making like pasta, no, not pasta, but rice will start slowly like coming back in, and bread will make its way back into the house again just because I get lazy.
No, because I had a conversation with your mum actually the other day.
Oh,
I know,
weird. Was I in the room?
Yeah, I think you came in later on.
Oh, it was
but
after we had lunch and I ate.
No, we were talking about like what prior to surgery, what it was that like kind of made you gain weight. Because like for me, prior to surgery, it was portion. Like portion was a big thing. After surgery, it was a little bit, that was the thing I had to really work on. And with you, it's always been, you were very healthy prior to surgery. But your mum was like, no, but her big thing was the lollies.
Yeah.
And it's been something I've kind of talked to you about a little bit after, because you go out now these days and you'll buy like a bag of snakes and you'll have like one snake, and then I'll find like a random bag of snakes somewhere
in the freezer.
Yeah. So it's like, and I said to her, it's one of those things like with habits like that, it's not going to just change overnight. Like it's something.
I do a lot better than what I used to. Like I used to buy a bag of snakes and like devour the whole thing. But now I buy a bag of snakes and I'll like take 1 or 2 out and then put them in the freezer and forget about them for like a couple of days, and then I'll go back and eat a few more. Like I don't devour the entire bag in one time.
Is that something consciously you kind of are aware of though?
Yeah, and I purposely don't go down the lolly aisle in the... Do you know what's really annoying though? The almond milk is in the same aisle as the chocolate and the lollies, and I get almond milk every single time I go to the shop. So it's kind of like I have to walk down and not look on the other side of the aisle and just like grab my 5 little things and put my blinkers on and just grab my almond milk and get out of the aisle.
Yeah. Yeah. No, because I'm going through a process of trying to like fully comprehend my things, and that was one thing when your mum said that I was like, oh, you know what, she actually kind of still does that a little bit.
Little bit, yeah. Not as bad.
Do you notice anything with me that's like that? Not really.
Well, let me just get my list. No.
Yeah, because it's like obviously being external to your internal, I can kind of look within and see things.
I think yours, if I had to pick something, yours would be your unconscious snacking, and your convenient snacking. Like we have food in the fridge, but you'll just go for the quickest and the easiest thing rather than putting together a nutritious meal, which then kind of plays part on me, because I try and make sure that there's like good healthy snacks in the fridge in the cupboard. But like I said it to you the other day, actually. I was like, what are you looking for? And you went to the freezer to try and find chips. And I was like, there's no frozen chips there. There's no frozen chips in the supermarket. I'm like, just eat a tin of tuna. So you're very quick and easy. You just don't like to put much effort into food. But we've known that for a very long time.
It's one of those things, because like last week on the episode, we talked about like motivation and stuff like that. And like when you get to a point where we've lost the weight and we kind of just in that maintenance side of things, you're not really like, I know when I was like trying to lose weight, you're very like calorie conscious. Like you're very like, like you understand that if I have that, I've got to do this.
See, I wasn't calorie conscious. I was good food, bad food. I've never counted calories before in my entire life.
Good food, bad food. So
back before surgery, it was good food, bad food. I knew that sugar and carbs and that sort of thing, carbs aren't bad food, but I knew there was categories. There was good food, which was like meat and veggies, and then there was bad food. So that's how I sort of...
So you were all or nothing though? Like, so when you were trying to lose weight, you did none of the bad food?
Yeah.
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 Well, I don't know if that's the right or wrong way. Again.
Who knows?
Like, that's when you get nutritionists on and understand, I guess, like from that side of things, if that is a bad thing or a good thing? Like for me, I'm like, that's kind of how my brain's worked for 30 years.
I did do quite a lot of exercise as well prior to surgery, but it was not enough exercise to obviously calorie deficit how much food I was eating, if that makes sense. Like, because I used to work out so much. I'd do boot camps 5 times a week. I'd go for walks. Like, though it wasn't consistent, it would be kind of like, again, 2 weeks, I'd do it all or nothing, and then I wouldn't see results in those 2 weeks, so I'd get frustrated and I'd stop.
Demotivated.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. That's something we need to touch back in, because obviously being 4 years out, and
Let's
I'm sure
get our mums on the podcast and we'll talk to them about it.
No. It was just like, I think it's something we need to be conscious of. And like, 4 years out, I think if you're not sitting there analyzing where you're at, I feel like you need to kind of maybe take that step back to go, is the surgery being more emphasized on what my progress is than what my actual progress is?
I'm just laughing because I'm imagining our parents sitting down here with
God.
us.
No, that'd be entertaining.
Oh, God.
Anyway, our guest today, we should get her in on this conversation and kind of, get her input on the whole conversation.
She is somebody who used to exercise quite a lot before surgery. So let's bring her up and have a chat to her. Today's guest was bypassed back in August of 2020 with a start weight of 104 kilos. She has since lost 40 kilos and overcome some pretty challenging times in the last 19 months. From being fat fit to a proud runner, she is a mother, a wife, and a remarkable human. Please welcome the happy, supportive, and strong Sharlene, also known as Sharlene_78 on the gram. Hi, lovely.
Hello.
Welcome to the podcast. I know that was a weird introduction because it was kind of went a bit deep early on. Usually we try and keep the introductions quite like light and airy, but I'm like, let's go a little bit into our brains. You're a fascinating one. I'm not going to lie, because we Alita showed me, your form, and we had a look at kind of what you're about. And I was like, hey, you're really interesting because you have been someone who has been quite active for a very long time. But yet you've gone down the bariatric surgery side of things and become very successful in that aspect. And for me, I think I want to kind of understand what the differences are, because from someone who relies a lot on exercise to maintain progress, you not being like you struggling with your weight with exercise, and then coming into the bariatric world and still having exercise, I'm interested to see how that kind of differed.
Plays out.
Yeah. We'll lead off. We're not going to go straight into it and dump it all on you straight up. But we do have an icebreaker question.
She's going to break down what we were just talking about beforehand. She's like,
what
were you even talking about?
I think I'm still trying to break it down a little bit in my own head. But we have an icebreaker question. This one's from one of our Patreons, and it's all the way from the USA. Letitia is shared this question, and she wants to know, what is your guilty pleasure that is not food?
I'm not good at these on the spot questions.
I don't know if they're icebreakers or put you on the spot questions. They make you go, wait, no, I thought this was about weight loss.
Yeah.
Where is this
Hang
going?
on. I don't know that I really actually have one. All my guilty pleasures would be food related.
Oh, true.
Well, then what's your go-to food related guilty pleasure?
Chips, without a doubt.
Like hot chips or crisps?
Yeah. Well, do you know what? Potatoes of any sort, but mostly hot crisps.
It was funny because you said potatoes were short, because obviously with the chips and stuff.
Yeah.
And I was like, potatoes are so versatile.
They're vodka.
They're
crisps,
vodka. They're hot chips, cold chips.
Potato gems,
They're
mashed potato. They're everything.
Thinking about it, it's they're not the healthy option, but they have a lot of different.
They're versatile.
Very versatile.
Look, if you were stuck on Earth with one thing, I think I'd probably choose potato because you can do so much with it.
I would choose you, but I guess
food.
potatoes would be a close second.
I meant food-wise, you dork.
Okay. Wow. Awkward.
I told you beforehand that we're super awkward, and we'd do that for you.
I know. When we do an icebreaker question, it kind of becomes like, so we just put you on the spot. I'm sorry about that. Let's start off with talking about who you were prior to surgery. By the sounds of it, you were always pretty active and fit.
Definitely.
Yeah.
So
you tried every diet under the sun, and it didn't work. So tell us a little bit about who you were prior to surgery.
So I've always struggled with my weight right from a young girl. I have tried every diet under the sun, and I think I've been on a diet more than I've not been on a diet. And And, you know, like everyone else, I would lose a certain amount and then put that back on with a bit of interest. And no matter how much I exercised, it didn't matter because obviously my food was my issue. I was obviously consuming more, but yeah, a lot of people around me used to always say, like, how can you not be losing weight when you do all of this, you know, activity? And it's just like, well, honestly, I know it's food, but exercise alone just didn't do it for me. I felt like I needed to be eating lettuce leaves to be able to lose the weight. That's just how I felt my life needed to be. So I was always hangry. Always.
So when you say food, like, was it similar to what I was saying before? Like, you know, you go on a diet and you wouldn't get results within like 3 weeks, so then you just like end up binging, or were you just like a consistent, like going through drive-throughs all the time, or like what was it? What was your relationship with food like prior to surgery?
Yeah, I mean, I've had and still probably have a really bad relationship with food. My issue was probably more portion like control. I didn't really eat takeout any different or any more than anyone else, like in my family or anything like that. It was sort of just the portions. If I ate the same portions as everyone else in the family, I would gain the weight and they wouldn't. So I wouldn't even suggest that I was like, I definitely wasn't a binge eater or anything like that, but yeah, I love food. So if it's there, I was gonna, you know, eat it with everyone else. But I gained the weight and, you know, the people around me didn't.
Yeah. So was it something like, were you pretty honest with like your eating behaviors? Because I know like when I was at my biggest, people would be like, you know, why are you putting away? I'm like, I don't understand. Like, I work really hard and I do all this stuff and I don't really eat that bad. Were you pretty open and honest with like, you know, the food you ate? Like, or was it something you kind of hid away from people?
Definitely didn't hide it away. I definitely knew that food was my issue, although I did feel like, you know, my life wasn't fair because I couldn't eat the same as what everyone else did. That I definitely struggled with for sure, because I was just as active or more active than what they were. But obviously genetics and metabolism and things like that came into play for me. And I just really struggled to lose weight unless I was on a really strict diet. And I would lose the weight. And I did F45, 11-week challenge, and I lost, well, it was 8-week challenge, sorry, and lost 11 kilos. And that was fantastic. But as soon as the challenge finished, then I went back to my old habits and put the weight back on. And, you know, that happened every single time, whether it be Jenny Craig or Weight Watchers or, whatever.
I feel like
all the above.
I feel like everybody can relate to that because I think I've gone through every single physical diet program there is out there, and I'd lose the weight when I was on it, but the minute that you got to goal weight, and I think for me as well, it was a little bit mental too because I got to goal. I wanted to lose 15 kilos. I've got there, so then you stop and you just go back to eating and living normally again because you get to your goal weight. Like there was nothing beyond that goal, I guess. So.
And for me, I never actually made it to goal weight ever. I always just made it to the end of the challenge or although some of them like, Jenny Craig and Weight Watchers, there was no end. So I just sort of did it for a certain amount of time. I never got to goal weight, not once. So until after bariatric surgery, then I got to goal weight.
Your fat fit weight, as you put it, what was your kind of like when you were, I guess, at your lowest, when you were fat fit, like what kind of were you around weight wise, kilograms wise?
Well, one time about 12 years ago, I did get to 69.9 kilos for 5 seconds. So that was really exciting.
5.5 seconds.
And then I looked at food again and I gained it all.
Yeah, then I walked past McDonald's and breathed too deeply and it was back on. Yeah.
But for the majority of the time over, let's just use, say, 15 years, probably not so much the last 5 years, but previous to that was between 75 and 83 was sort of where I sat for a long time. But then probably about, 5-6 years ago, I got from 83 up to the 90s and pretty much stayed in the 90s for a fair while.
Because your pre-surgery weight was 104 kilos?
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
and what do you kind of sit at now?
That's 62 to 63.
Oh, wow. Okay.
So are you quite short?
166 centimeters.
Yeah, okay.
So,
yeah.
I don't know that. What's that in feet?
She's probably about this much shorter than me.
That works.
Yep. So, but like, because you mentioned in your form that you filled out before, like prior to coming on here, that your friends, and you said it before earlier in this episode, your friends sort of used to say to you, "I don't understand why you're not losing the weight. Like, you're fitter than us, that sort of thing." Like, how did that play with you mentally, because like you're putting everything into you trying to lose this weight and be active and you know, do all those things, and it's almost like a kick in the guts hearing it from the people that are like, I just don't understand.
Yeah, it's been really hard over the years. In particular, I worked with one lady for 7 years, and she was, you know, skinny as, actually quite muscly and everything. She couldn't even run 100 meters. So, you know, she used to be the one that used to always say to me, I just don't get it. Like, you can run rings around me. But she would sit there and eat her pies and cream donuts while I'm eating my lettuce leaves. And she was actually like pretty supportive, but at the same time, it was really hard to sit next to her for 7 years, you know, knowing that I was trying so hard. And yeah, she just sort of sat there and could eat what she wanted. But she had a lot of other health issues, and was on a lot of medication. Just because she was skinny didn't make her healthy.
No, exactly right.
Yeah.
Definitely a difference between being slim and fit. Big difference. Yeah, that's for sure.
Or being healthy as well, because I had a really good friend of mine growing up, like from the age of 5 until I was, she's still actually a really good friend of mine now, but like our entire time growing up, she was stick thin. Like, I mean, you could see her like hip bones sticking out like that, but it was natural. And then she used to work at KFC, and she'd eat KFC every night. And here I am, like, on every diet under the sun. And as I said, like, I would look at food and like gain weight. And I was just like, I just don't understand. Like, that in itself played such a mental game as well, having all these friends that could just, you know, yes, she did play a lot more sport than what I did, which was probably the factor back then. But like, it plays such a mental game with you that early on as well.
So
definitely.
You being like 2 years out, practically 2 years, well, 2.5 years out actually now. How has that been for you?
Not quite.
No, well, 2020.
19 months.
August. Yeah, I'm great at maths. You know, being 19 months out and obviously having a very successful weight loss journey to now, how has your lifestyle and you as a person changed throughout this process?
It's changed my life completely. All I ever really wanted to do in my life was to use this body in a way that I wanted to use it, not in a way that it determined me using it, if that makes sense. So with regards to like exercise and things like that, I love exercise. I love challenging myself that way. And every time when I was sort of bigger, every time I started to succeed in what I was doing from, you know, an overweight person, I would get injured or there'd be setbacks or something like that. So I'd never get to where I wanted to get. Whereas now, like, I still shock myself every day. Like, I still don't know how I'm doing what I'm doing, because I still feel like I'm putting in the same effort, but it's a lot easier and things are just, you know, progressing so much better. And I guess for me, it's just given me a lot more confidence in myself and belief in myself. But yeah, now I'm just sort of reaching goals and wanting to exceed them and then push for new goals, which before I never really could quite make it ever. Like, I was always just trying, but never really got there.
I feel like for you, like being a runner prior to surgery and like having the, you know, being able to lose the weight and have that extra like added thing would be so motivational for you, because like being overweight and, you know, running and I feel like you would have lost a lot of drive within that kind of world. And obviously weight to power ratio, you know, dropping a heap of weight, still got the same, you know, kind of fitness. You'd obviously be a lot more, you know, efficient when you're out there running. And I feel like that would kind of have a catch-22. Have you noticed the difference in that kind of aspect for yourself?
Oh, 100%. Like, when I first started, because it took me a while after the surgery to actually get back into running, but when I first started back, I was dropping times like so quickly each week, and like just at park run, for instance, and I was just like, why is this? I said to my husband one day, I said, like, I don't understand why now, like, I'm getting to the weights that everyone else has been for so long. How is it that I'm now getting so much quicker? Not that I was comparing myself, and you know, but we do, you know, because you're getting to these times that you never thought were achievable. They were just like, you know, pipe dreams. And I was exceeding them, and I was sort of going past sort of what other people were doing. And I said, how is this working? And he put it back to, well, one, the strength that I had, you know, just underlying from everything that I was doing previous. But also, I have chosen not to eat sugar since I've had the surgery. That was just something I decided not to do. And just, I think just by not putting sort of that into my body, it's helped me sort of, just get fitter and stay stronger. And it's just been amazing. I just can't understand.
Was sugar a big thing for you prior to surgery? Is that kind of one of the reasons you went down the bypass rather than the sleeve?
No, actually, sugar wasn't, and that's why I think it's probably easy for me not to eat it. But the reason I don't eat it is because of the dumping thing. I haven't dumped yet, but my surgeon said if you have sugar, you'll probably dump, and I didn't want to experience that. So,
Totally.
And now he says to me, you're allowed to eat sugar, and I said, yeah, but if I do, then I'll know I can, and then I'll probably eat too much of it.
That's enabling you.
Yeah, so rather just not know and just assume that it's going to make me dump.
So back in, 19 months ago, how did you hear about surgery, and what was your moment that you went, okay, this is for me?
Yeah, so I thought about it actually 4 years prior to that. But in that moment, I did a lot of research, and I guess because, like I was sort of in the high 90s, not quite 100 4 years ago, I thought to myself, no, I can give this another shot. I'll keep dieting, keep exercising, keep trying. And, then everything sort of happened with COVID, and then we were working from home and exercise went out the window. And then I started to sort of get really frumpy, and back issues and things like that started to happen. So I ended up by seeing a chiropractor for the first time ever, and she actually was the one that put it back in my head, because she'd actually had bariatric surgery 6 months before me going to see her. And so then that started the conversation again, and then I started sort of looking into it more again. And then I just decided, all right, it's time for me to live my life now. My kids are now 26 and 21, and I'm like, it's time to, 25 and 21. I just aged in a year.
You don't look old enough. You do not look old enough to have kids that age. Like, both Shannon and I just kind of looked at each other just then and was like, what?
Yeah, I had to take a second look at your video and go like, wait a second.
Did you have them when you were like 10? Like, seriously?
Not quite. I had my son when I was 18, my daughter at 22. So yes.
Wow, God.
Quite young.
You look good. You look good. So bypass. Why bypass over all the other surgeries?
I guess for me, it was this was going to be my first surgery. I've never gone down that path before, and I didn't want to end up having 2 surgeries. So there was obviously a lot of, feedback about, a lot of the people that have the sleeve, then having revision to bypass. And I'm like, if I'm doing this, I'm doing it once. I'm not doing it a second time. So that's why I decided to go down the bypass.
Did you have any concerns?
Sorry?
Did you have any concerns about the bypass over the sleeve? Like, had you heard anything that was sort of like, oh, I'm not quite sure if I should be doing this one, or like, were you pretty like just set on the bypass?
Yeah, I was pretty just set on the bypass. If anything, I was probably would have been more nervous about the sleeve, and that was only from a reflux point of view. There was no other reason for that, but but I never had reflux or anything, so I'm like, I don't want to get that. But I don't know. I wasn't nervous at all about having the surgery. I sort of, with COVID, I had to go in by myself, and I'd never had surgery before, and I just went, oh, well, let's just do this, Yeah,
was there anything that took you by surprise early on? Like, was there anything that you kind of went, oh, I didn't expect that? Like, for me, it was gas pain. I underestimated that sucked.
Oh my God, the gas.
Yeah.
That was awful.
Yeah.
For me, the whole thing took me by surprise, I guess. Like, I'd done a lot of research, and I'd, listened to watch. And my first initial thoughts was, people on Facebook, they lie. Only because, there was a lot of talk about it. It only took him a couple of weeks to recover and all that. I guess being that I hadn't had surgery before, I took that as like, oh, okay, it only takes you a couple of weeks and then you're good to go. Well, for me, I felt like my recovery took a long time. So that, I guess, was really hard for me to cope with. And although, mentally I was still fine I didn't have mental health issues or anything like that, but mentally I found it hard just to not be able to get back out and exercise and, get my life back to the way it was. So I did have a reasonable amount of regret in the beginning.
Which I think that's quite interesting to touch on, because not most people, but a lot of people going into surgery, they've never actually had that exercise element going into it, and they're just kind of like, they don't really mind that it takes a couple of weeks or months to get back into the exercise. But when exercise has been such a huge part
Massive
of your life, I know that when I had my gallbladder out, which we'll touch on later, but when I had my gallbladder out, I specifically scheduled my surgery in between triathlons, because I was like, nah, I'm not doing this. I have to. And I was I had to beg my surgeon to let me do the swim part of the team like a couple of weeks after having my surgery, because like you, like it was such a mental thing to be like, no, I need to get back to exercising, not because I want to do it for like, you know, weight loss side of things, but because it mentally I needed to be out there and I needed to be exercising and I needed to be training. But touching on that, the first 7 months of your journey, you were filled with a little bit of regret. It didn't quite go the way that you were hoping it to. Do you want to tell us about that? Not to scare anybody off, but, you know, like, talk us through what happened with you.
Yeah, and I think it, like, for me, it is probably important to sort of be real with that, because it really was 7 months that it took me to actually decide that, you know what, this is the decision I've made and it's time to just get on with it. But I think it took, let's just think about the timing as well. COVID was in play, parkrun wasn't happening. You know, so my life had, you know, sort of been turned upside down a little bit with a lot of things. And I guess, like, socially we weren't really doing a lot either. So I don't know, I felt like my life had just been sort of put on hold. Like I wasn't able to go anywhere or do anything or exercise or whatever. And, you know, and the pain for me, I guess, was real, like, because I hadn't experienced pain like that before, you know, when you ate too quickly or, you know, you drank too fast or, you know, all of them sort of things, they took me a while to adjust to. So I think that's why I put a 7 month mark on it, because I think at the 7 month mark was when parkrun came back, when we started to sort of get out more and things just started. And that's when I just sort of went, right, build a bridge, get over it, let's just do this. And that's when it all sort of just fell into place, I think, for me.
I think that's a good thing to mention as well, though. Like, your whole life almost got, like, paused, essentially, because you went through COVID and you had surgery and all that sort of thing. But then, like, also, like, if you had surgery and, you know, you take the 2 weeks off like what everybody else does, but then in a normal world before COVID, you would have gone back to work, be it on light duties or whatever, but you would have gone back to work and you would have had, like, some form of normality in your life. But being COVID, working from home, being in isolation, you literally just had to sit at home and sit with your feelings and the pain and your emotions. Like, it would have been, I don't think I could have dealt with that personally.
Like, you think it's going to be better because you've got the time at home and you can sort of, you know, like, get used to it, but actually was worse because, everything was just so different and having to adjust to it. But yeah, we got there.
You made it. Was it almost like a switch you flicked overnight when you kind of just went, you know what, I've got to snap out of this. Yeah. This is enough. Yeah. I can't do this anymore.
I did. Yeah, I did. I had to get over myself, basically. That's how I put it.
And you're one of the people that, like, unfortunately went through the whole gallbladder kind of side of things. Again, I'm lucky. I can't still have mine, but I watched Alita go through hers. Not to rub it in, Alita. But
I'm still waiting.
Yeah. No,
your time is coming.
I think it's fine. I hope it's fine. You know, what was kind of that whole situation? How did that, you know, play out for you?
Well, so apparently, my surgeon put it that I'm just very stubborn, because my gallbladder has actually been causing me problems for quite some time. But I just put it back to the first 7 months where I wasn't getting it right, you know, so I must be eating it, like eating the wrong things or eating too quick or eating and drinking. You know, I felt like I must have just been getting it wrong again and I needed to retrain myself. So I probably put up with gallbladder pain for at least 6 or 7 months before I actually rang the surgeon. It was my husband that said, for goodness sake, you need to ring someone. You cannot be in this much pain for no reason. And I guess I came to the point where I didn't even eat this one day and I was in so much pain. And I'm like, well, it can't be food today. So, and I wasn't eating properly. I wasn't drinking properly because everything just was starting to really hurt. So I rang the surgeon and within a week and a half, I was having my gallbladder removed. So it happened really quick in the end.
Was it every time you'd eat or was it certain things?
No, in the end, it was pretty much every time I ate. But initially, I think I felt like it was certain things. So then I just stopped eating different things. But then that would start to hurt. So I'm like, okay, don't eat that now. I'll eat this, or, you know. So it just sort of built up, I guess. And then, you know, my surgeon did tell me that it was a mess in there, and that I'd, you know, left it for far longer than I ever should have. But well, you know, that's okay.
I beat you. I left mine for 12 months. No, and I'll never forget the first time that I had an attack as well. I was at work and I was working somewhere at the time. And I had a salad and I had raw, like, Spanish onion, like red onion in it. and I ate a piece of that, and I just thought, oh, indigestion, it must be reflux. I've just eaten, like, I literally pulled this piece of onion out and ate that, and I was like, who does that? But I do. And that gave me like severe, what I thought was reflux, and I had to say to my boss, I was like, I've got to drive down to the pharmacy and get something for this, because like I am in so much pain. And then it kind of went away after taking a bit of Gaviscon or whatever. So I just thought, reflux. And then it kind of happened more and more frequently. And then like Shannon, there was nights where I was like, I was in like such a sweaty heap on the floor from like, I don't even know what was happening. And Shannon's got tiles. So I'm like on all fours, like in the cartoons where you're like slipping all over the floor trying to get up. And Shannon's got, oh my God, it was the worst. But yeah, 12 months I dealt with it until I finally, it was Boxing Day that I went to the hospital. I was meant to go to hospital, but I didn't. But yeah. So I can sympathize with you. It sucks. Yeah. And the more you ignore it, or the more you don't get it looked at, the worse it gets as well. Like,
yeah, definitely. But the minute that I had it removed, the first meal that I had in hospital was amazing. I couldn't believe how much I just enjoyed eating with no pain.
I ate 2 bowls of soup. Relief. Yeah, I was just like, everyone else in my ward was like, oh, I'll just have a little bit. And I was like, nah, give me more. Like, I can eat again. Just So
it wasn't just it wasn't certain foods that played up for you. It was like most foods.
Yeah, it was. And at the time I didn't realize, but as soon as I had that gallbladder removed, I can now eat everything. Like nothing since that day has caused me any pain. And I'm just like, so funny enough, I actually didn't eat salad at all, because initially after weight loss surgery, salad I was a little bit afraid of, and then I had it a few times and it didn't feel comfortable. And then obviously the gallbladder was causing me issues, so it was also uncomfortable. So but I actually tried. We had a naughty night and we had KFC, and that actually didn't hurt. And I'm like, okay, well, if KFC doesn't hurt, then salad probably doesn't hurt now. So I've been eating salad every day since.
Oh my God. Yeah, I was going to say, like, imagine if like salad hurt but KFC didn't.
Damn it, this is the worst thing ever.
I had bariatric surgery to like eat healthier, not to like be convinced to eat unhealthy. Yeah.
I know.
I promised later when we entered in this episode, because like you're clearly a runner, and like, I can't have a thing for runners. So
I'll just leave now.
Yeah, no, but like, I promised Lita I wouldn't talk too much about running, because it's kind of like it's a niche thing. We're kind of a select bunch of people. But for like you running compared to prior to surgery to now, like Lita was kind of telling me about some of your PBs, and I was quite impressed by them. Has that been a huge driving factor for you, the whole running side of things after surgery, as much as it was prior to surgery?
It's really been my only thing. Like, I don't know what it was, but I always wanted to be good at running, and I lived and breathed around runners, and so I was great at being their support crew, but I was sick of being their support crew, and I really wanted to have a good go at it myself. So yeah, it's just been like the best thing that's happened to me. I've joined a running group as well now, which has helped me heaps, with just improving my running by, training properly and getting individualized programs and things like that. So yeah, I just don't want to do really anything. Well, I do want to do other things, but like at the moment, that's my focus.
And what's your kind of distance? Like, what do you kind of enjoy distance wise?
Well, I was working on my 5Ks, but I'm happy with where I've sort of got that.
Yeah, because you're like 23 minutes now, aren't you?
Yeah, 23:23 was my PB at Parkrun. I was pretty excited on that day.
I like my OCD.
Yeah, that makes me happy. 23. Yeah. I'm done. Don't try again. You're done.
Yeah, that's it. So from there, 10Ks is, something that I train at a lot, but I do want to go down to the half marathon distance. I'm not really that keen on going full marathon distance. We are going to go to New York next year to do the full marathon there, but that will probably be a one and only
that'd be so sick.
For me.
Yeah, that'd be so sick.
I want to do
New York Marathon.
I want to do
awesome.
the Disneyland ones. You can run through Disneyland.
Yeah, I'd love to do the Great Wall of China one.
Yeah,
just because the Great Wall of China.
There's so many good ones.
Oh, so many. And that's the thing about running. Like, you open your eyes up to like certain things. Like, as soon as I entered in the world of like, trail running and stuff like that, I was like, wow, I didn't even understand these things were a thing.
Yeah.
I was about to say, you'll do your half marathon. You'll be like, I have no intention of ever doing a full marathon, but I'll run 50 Ks through trails. It's fine.
Yeah, that's it. 40 Ks on the road, boring.
42 on the road, ugh, yuck, no thank you.
It's funny because my husband's a ultra trail runner, and he's never done a road marathon, so he's actually training to do the Gold Coast marathon for the first time. And he's really nervous. I'm like, you're nervous about 42. Like, I don't understand that, but it's on the road.
It is.
It's
repetitive.
boring. It's just,
Compared to like trails, like I'm the same. Like I couldn't imagine doing 42 on the road, but 50 on a trail.
Especially for me at my pace, it'd be like 4.5 hours out there just looking at bitumen. No, thank you. I'd much prefer to spend 17 hours looking at the bush.
Yeah, true.
But you didn't class yourself as a runner prior to surgery, did you? Even though you ran and you were running, you didn't class yourself as a runner.
No, definitely not.
How long after surgery did it take you to sort of say that you were a runner?
You know what? Probably the sub 30. Like, for 7 years, I tried to get a sub 30 and 32.24, I think, was my closest I got. Once I hit that sub 30, you know what? I did actually feel like it would have felt better than it did on the day. But I guess that's, the hype that you give yourself. But that's when I sort of thought, you know what? Now I feel like I've made it.
There you go, Leeds. Something to work towards. No, I'm just kidding.
Shut up. I've done a 27:40 something, and I've never been able to do it. It was on my 50th park run, and I was carrying in a balloon, which makes me think that was the reason why I did so quickly. But
it's the helium.
It was the helium in the balloon, and I did a 27:40 something, and I died at the end, and I've never tried to do it again.
Oh, but that's awesome though.
She's never ran with the balloon since.
Never ran with a balloon ever again.
So for you, has like nutrition been kind of a focus for you, or what kind of part has nutrition played for you?
Since bariatric surgery, no, I haven't. I'm a bit like Lita. I haven't counted calories or done anything like that. I think I spent so much of my life on a diet and counting points or calories of some description. I didn't want to be that to be my life. Like, I wanted to be able to just get on with it and let food just play its part as a fueling source. I just wanted to be able, like, the exercise I knew would probably be enough once I'd had the restriction of not being able to eat the huge quantities. So I haven't gone down the nutrition path, although when I was in a lot of pain, I did go and see a couple of nutritionists just to see if they could help me from a fueling point of view to go into a half marathon. Because I was in so much pain all the time, I was just like, well, how do I get enough food in to be able to run, the 21 Ks, because I can barely eat anything. So I did go and see a couple of nutritionists, but they weren't overly helpful. I guess not being bariatric nutritionists, they, said, oh, you can eat this sort of sugary product. And I said, oh, I don't eat sugar. And they said, oh, a little bit won't hurt, surely. And I'm just like, that's not really helpful.
I was about to say, do you have energy gels when you run?
No, I don't. So to date, the furthest I've gone is 16 Ks, because I had I've been working towards my half marathon, which was supposed to be this weekend, which is not anymore, which is very sad. But I had the gallbladder removed 4 weeks ago, and then I was 2 weeks of recovery of that, and then I had a week back at training, and then I actually got COVID. So then I am only a week back now after COVID, so I haven't had enough time now to train for the half marathon properly.
Oh gosh, don't worry about that. Just go do it. I did a half marathon last year, and I hadn't trained for over a year, and I just went out there, and it was slow, but goddamn, it was fun.
Well, I did have that thought myself, but then my coach said it was a big no-no. So I'm like, okay, I better listen, just from an injury point of view.
Yeah.
And being that I've come off of a lot of injuries when I was overweight, I do not want to be injured again. So I get where he's coming from.
But you've also done a half before too, though, haven't you? Like prior to
I have.
You had. So you've got nothing to prove. Like, it's not like you're like, it's my first one. Like, next time you go out there, you want to get a PB and you want to smash it. So.
Yeah, I guess the only disappointment with this one was this particular half marathon this weekend was the first half marathon I did 5 years ago. And when I did it 5 years ago, I actually didn't meet cutoff by 4 minutes. It was 3 hours and 4 minutes. And I had the tail bike rider tell me at 7 Ks to go, he told me to give up and go home because I wasn't going to make cutoff, and that
I
absolutely
would've punched him in
destroyed
the
me.
nose.
I wanted to, but instead I just cried.
Yeah.
That's so
and I cried.
unlike them. Usually they're like quite, usually they're like, oh, look, I have to
Yes.
close the road, but continue, like just go on the footpath, make it. You've only got, a few Ks to go. Like, wow, what a dick.
I know. It was a really traumatic experience, I've got to say. And to be honest, at that point, I still thought I was going to make cutoff, but I think that sort of put a dampener on things for me.
Well,
and
if
so I had
you're-
a little bit of...
If you're
I
that
had a
close
bit
to
of a sort of
finishing and
settle.
someone tells you that, oh, you're not going to make it, of course you're going to give
Yeah.
up and be like, well, stuff you. I'm not going to.
Yeah.
One or two ways. You're either going to push him off his bike and just sprint 7Ks to the end, or cry.
If I could have, I would have. I was pretty spent by then.
It's one of those
So,
things,
yeah.
like, because obviously I want to play devil's avocado a little bit, like, because like with pushing yourself, like, i.e. you doing the half marathon and like kind of going, oh, I want to just attempt it and blah blah, but the fear of injury. It's kind of like, because obviously I did Black Hole 100 and I've had a fair few injuries since then because I overdid my body so much. I'm kind of like, yeah, probably the right decision. But I know how much like pushing beyond what I thought was possible at that point in time has meant to me since. So it's almost like catch-22. Like I'm kind of like sitting here being like, should I encourage her? Like, should I push her off the cliff? Or should I be like, no, you're making the right decision? Because like, as much as I know I've had to deal with a lot of injuries since doing that because I overdid it for what I had trained for, I still went, oh, that was epic, and it's like, as much as I want to sit here and be like, no, don't be silly, like you can do it, you could do it. I'm like, no, you know your body. You've been running for a very long time, you know your body.
You play good cop, I'll play bad cop, because I've always said that I want to do a half Ironman, but I don't want to train for it. Like I know that I can swim the distance, I know that I can ride the distance, and I know that I can somewhat walk and run the distance. So like surely I can just rock up on the day and put it all together, be out there for like 12 hours. It'd be fine. Like no need to
cardiovascular. I never heard of it. What are you talking about?
Like so that's like my thing. I'm like I want to do it, but I don't want to put all the hours into training for it. So like don't do it. Go on.
Yeah. Well, I must admit I did definitely try and give my sob story as to why I needed to do it. He wasn't really up for listening, but he did say it could probably work out to be even worse than the first one if you do get injured. So I'm like,
you could not finish.
Reason. That's
enough.
Right. So, but then also I know that I could do the distance in a walk run or, just to get there. And I know I'd get there before the 3-hour cutoff this time. So
well, I'm going to play good cop and I'm going to say hold off for another year.
Cop?
Yeah, I know, but I've changed hats.
Oh my gosh, she's the worst. I was like getting prepared to be the good cop, and now you've changed.
I've got bipolar.
I've
got bipolar, but like it's not going anywhere. You've got a whole nother year to train for it, and you're going to smash the time, and you're going to do amazing because it's going to be a whole nother year later. And you've really screwed up my next question because my next question was going to be like, you got something pretty epic happening next weekend.
I read that question that she wrote down. And I'm like, it kind of comes across a bit creepy. Like if you're watching through a window, like I feel like you have something coming up soon. You want to tell us about it? It's like, how do you know? Like, I'm blind. You just got it's like you just got a new bikini.
So obviously you're not doing the half marathon next weekend. Plans after that, once you've recovered from COVID, you started training again. What's your next big plan?
Well, so I am still going to do 10Ks next weekend. But then after that, I'm going to, there is another local half that I'll do in the Barossa. But then I am actually going to come to the Gold Coast and do the half on the Gold Coast. So that's probably my next big one.
Is that August? No, May.
First weekend in July because I'm in finance. It's the end of financial year. It's really bad timing.
Yeah.
Did you just say you're going to do a run through the Barossa?
Yeah.
Do the aid stations have wine?
I was literally going to say Alita's going to say that. I knew you were going to go there. You're like, so the aid stations like great.
Because I'll be there.
Is it like champagne?
Yeah. No, unfortunately not. And to be honest, I have actually done this one before because I've done 3 halves before in my prior life, however you want to say that. And the Barossa was actually the 3rd half marathon that I did, and it was the only one that I've made cut off cut off on
Oh,
so
wow.
far. So I did that one in 2 hours and 56 seconds, I think.
Minutes.
56
It was
minutes,
the
sorry.
one at the aid stations, wasn't
2
it?
hours 56.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah,
56
the extra
minutes, not
oomph
56 seconds.
to get there.
Yeah, but it's actually a very open, flat course, so it can be quite windy, and it's not as nice as it sounds when I'm through the Barossa.
It kind of does sound delightful.
Yeah, I picture like running through vineyards and stuff. I'm guessing it's not like that, but like I kind of like get this
No.
whole like, you know, running through the vineyards but
a little bit.
the Gold Coast
A
one is
little bit.
beautiful. It's quite
She's
flat.
like,
and
there was a
it's-
couple of roadside bushes. Kind of like vineyards, right?
if you're looking for the vineyards, you'll find them. Okay.
Yeah,
No, but the
they
Gold
are out
Coast,
there.
the Gold Coast one is beautiful. It's nice and flat, and not that I've done it, but I do know where
Yeah,
the
I'm
course
like,
is.
I don't even know if we know the course.
We do.
You're like, it's in the Gold Coast. Beautiful.
It's beautiful.
Yeah, I'm sure there's
Yeah.
a beach.
No, everybody raves
Yeah.
about it because it is so flat, because they quite like it because there's no hills compared to the Sunshine Coast Marathon, which has got Alex Hill, which no one
Oh,
likes.
sucks.
Yeah.
But it's,
I don't like hills, I'll be honest. That's why I haven't got into trail running yet.
So apart from like running, like what has been the one thing you've learnt from bariatric surgery? Like what you know, if you had to give one piece of advice to someone who's entering into this process, apart from running, because you know I'll be on the same thing. I'm like always have to be like not running. What's the best piece of advice you'd give to someone like you know early on about bariatric surgery?
Well, I know this is, you know, pretty, you know, cliche, whatever you want to say, but it is really about trusting the process. And I tell you what, the amount of times my husband said, just trust the process, I wanted to like slap him so many times, because especially in the first 7 months when I really wasn't a fan of the process, it really is important just to trust it and to learn in the first 12 to 18 months, like put the, you know, good routines in place, because you know, I'm only at 19 months, but I can already see that it's me that's doing the work now, it's not the surgery. So you know, you've got to really put that time into really learning new habits. So that's really
And
important.
has your partner had bariatric surgery, or is he just wise as hell?
No. He is, and he's such a good support. He's unbelievable.
He's just one of those
I wouldn't have got
ultra
through it
trail
without him,
runner-
honestly.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say, because like I think a lot of like every time we seem to talk about like the partnership, you know, the marriage prior to surgery, because that statistic kind of plays a part. People are really intrigued by that. Like, you know, has it been the support that's like kind of made it work for you guys after surgery?
Definitely. So me and my partner have been together since we were 16. So we've been, you know, yeah, it's been a nice relationship. I picked a good one right at the beginning.
Yeah. Good taste from the start. Yeah.
Yeah, that's it. But he's been supportive right from the get-go. He's always supportive with everything, but you know, even to the point where he was the one learning about what I needed to eat after, and he was doing all the cooking of the purees and the, you know, all that. I sort of was a bit of a sloth, I'll be honest. Like I was just like feeling sorry for myself, and he just fed me and did everything. And the first day he went back to work, he's like, right, this is what you need to eat. And I drank too much soup, and I made myself feel a bit ill, and he's like, give you one job, you can't even get that right. So nah,
what
I've
a
been
champ.
really lucky.
He's like, no soup for you.
Yeah.
You have too much soup. No soup for you.
Secretly, he's so supportive because he wants to get you out on the trails with him. He's like, if I can do this right, I can get her out on the trails and we can go trail running together.
Well, the funny thing is, once I started to get better at the 5K distance, he started to get a little nervous. So he actually started upping his training. So now he's got a lot better too. He's actually dropped some weight too.
That's why I've stayed at my pace, because I don't want to make Sam nervous. You know, like I don't want to make him feel like he's got to try harder or anything like that.
No, that's so anti-supportive. I love it, Lita.
Yeah.
No, I'm being super
it's been
supportive.
fantastic.
I'm just helping you stay where you are.
No,
like,
motivate me.
no.
Come on, hit the 20-minute mark. Let's go.
And I'm lucky to hit the 30-minute mark at the moment. Come and lift weights for me, Shane. Come lift weights.
No, I get out of bed. That's my weight. Sharlene, I'm impressed by your whole process. And you know, if someone else wanted to like kind of find out more about you, is there kind of a certain avenue they can go down to find you?
Yeah, I mean, like I don't do a lot on Instagram just because I'm terrible at social media, but I do know how to read messages and answer them. So
I know how to
I'm
open the
happy.
website.
Yeah, that's right. I do put some stuff on there sometimes, or my daughter does for me, whichever. But I'm more than happy to talk to anyone about anything. I'm a complete open book.
And
but
that was a
I don't
Sharlene
sugarcoat
78.
anything.
Is that right? So it's Sharlene
Yeah.
SHARLENE _78 on Instagram.
Yes, that's me.
Yeah, because I feel like it's one of those things with your situation. Like I look at it from the exterior and I go, oh wow, you've done really well, and like I feel like you have a lot to offer in the way of like what you've learned if someone asks you the right question, you know, to kind of understand the kind of where you're at. So if you are in that situation and you want to like kind of enter into the world of running, or you feel like there's some kind of question that you want to ask Sharlene, reach out to her. You know, go hit her up, Sharlene78.
I was going to say that's if you are looking to get into running, I feel like Sharlene would be a really good person to have a talk to, because unlike a lot of us, you were running beforehand at like a heavier weight, and you did know what it was like to go through all of that. Like a lot of us have taken up running after surgery where, you know, you're starting to feel fitter and all those sorts of things. So like if you, I know that I get the question all the time, how did you get into running? And I'm like, I don't know, I just started, you know. So, but like, so I feel...
It's been really good as well, because I've actually been on both ends now. So, you know, people that are starting out or, you know, are sort of trying to get PBs or trying to get better, I can sort of run with them and I can understand where they're at or where they're coming from. So I've got a different appreciation for where they are, and I don't sort of sit there and say, come on, why can't you do better or whatever. Like, because I got a lot of, when I was trying really hard back when I was overweight, I was, why aren't you getting any faster? You come out every week, surely you should be quicker by now, you know, that sort of thing. Or, you know, can I run with you today? I just feel like having a slow run, you know, that sort of stuff. I got that all the time. Yeah. And so I can understand like what not to say. And, you know, people that know me now in the running world, they don't know me from before, because I didn't sort of go into especially the training groups and stuff like that before, because obviously when you're overweight, you don't do that because it's intimidating. Or for me, it was intimidating. So they don't know what I was like before. So they just look at me and go, oh, wow, you know, look at this. But it's like, well, this is not where I've always been. But, you know, it is amazing now. But I do understand the other side of it too.
Yeah, I love that. Yeah. Like I do, because you're 100% right. Like, you know, you just saying those few comments and I was like, yeah, like, you know, not going into the running groups because you're overweight and feeling like the intimidation side of things. And I feel there'd be a lot of people that were, like, I personally, I think it was probably before I got below 100 kilos, I wouldn't have done that. So I feel like it's very relatable for a lot of people, because it is kind of like a mental barrier to cross. But Alita did ask us a question. I just want to kind of knock off this question before we end it up. What was it for you that got you into running?
Me?
Yeah.
It was literally park run started in my hometown, and that was 8 years ago. And I went to the very first one, and I had no idea how far 5Ks was. I took my hydration vest. I was like ready to sort of like run a marathon.
I'm out here for days.
Yeah. And when we got to the end of the first 5Ks, I went with a friend. I was just like, oh my God, like, are we going to do that again? And, you know, in the beginning, in the first sort of 6 months, I went spasmodically. And then from there, I pretty much haven't missed a week unless COVID's told me I can't go, or I've been injured. So I've done a lot of volunteers, because every time I'm injured, I volunteer. So
park run is the gateway drug to running.
And really again, I don't want to ask too many questions, but like, you know, if you want to reach out to Sharlene, do it. But like, you know, do you find that first few park runs intimidating?
I probably did back then, because I didn't know, I wasn't a runner. I'd never done anything like that. I played netball and tennis, like I was full sports. So athletics to me was like, I don't know if I can do this. And do you have, like, you know, you think you have to run and that sort of thing. But I guess I'm also someone that, you know, I just chuck myself into situations and hope for the best. So I went out there with a friend though, so that was easier. But yeah, it's definitely not an intimidating place. It's such a real
it's not. The thought of it is intimidating.
I feel like parkrun shot themselves in the foot by calling themselves park run. They should have called themselves like park walk or something like that, because it's kind of like, you know, the word run scares a lot of people off. But
we don't go to the same park run 2 weeks in a row. We go to a different one every single week. So we've, you know, done all the SA ones, we've done all the alphabet, we use parkrun as a, you know, way to holiday and whatever else. So we just share it around, and they're all just as welcoming as each other.
Keep it interesting. Love it.
Yeah. Love it.
Incredible. Well, Sharlene, absolute pleasure. Thank you for coming on.
No, thank you for having me. It's been great.
No, it's just good to have a chat to you and get to know a little bit more about you. Guys, if you do want to reach out to Sharlene and find out a little bit more, you can find her on Instagram at Sharlene_78. I'm glad you finished that off, because I was like literally scrolling through.
I could see you doing that,
but guys, we want to say thank you to everyone that supports the guests to come on, because it isn't easy to step outside your comfort zone and come on these episodes, because it's kind of, it's not something you usually do. We also want to thank our Patreons, because you guys are awesome. We appreciate the support. And yeah, guys, if you want to come on Barry Banter, let us know. We're happy to have a chat, hear a little bit about you, and hopefully be inspiring like Sharlene over here. So, guys, that is another episode of
Barry Banter.
Well, yes, that is another episode of Barry Banter in the books. We hope you got a little something from that one.
Head on over to Facebook or Instagram and check us out, or go to baribanter.com where you can watch past episodes, give us feedback, and let us know who you want to hear from next.
We love you all, and as always, please stay beautiful.